Hey witches, it's Willow Moonlight, and a coven sister of mine had made a suggestion of showing off my herbal collection to you. So here is most of it. These are the herbs that I have. I did not include my spices that I might use in some of my herbal infusions, such as star anise or ginger, or I do have some ginger here, but you know, in the powdered form. All of those things are located in the cupboard, so let's get started. So let's start with chicory root. So in order to get the most out of roots, you're actually not going to make an infusion, but you're going to make a decoction, which is just boiling the root in the water for about 20 minutes or so, depending on what the recommended time is for it. Chicory root is naturally caffeine free, and some people can use it as a substitute for coffee. This is one of my newer herbs and I have yet to use it, so I will hopefully get a chance to experiment with it and tell you how it is. By the way, I do appreciate honesty in videos, so not all of these herbs I have extensive experience with or have used. This is juniper. These are some dried berries. They have kind of a like pine kind of like smell to it. It's really nice. This is some horsetail. It's got kind of a herby type smell. This I'm planning on blending in with something. I can't quite remember. I have it wrote down in my book, but this is typically used for urinary conditions, although the tea that I was going to be blending this in, it wasn't for that purpose, but horsetail for urinary conditions. This is fennel seed. This is probably one of my favorites. I make a really good tea from my herbalism course called an after dinner tea. I altered the recipe a little bit based on what I could find, but basically it's a little bit of chamomile, a little bit of lemon balm, some orange peel, and some fennel, and it is fantastic. Of course, I have some chamomile. I go through quite a bit of this herb. I'll probably end up getting a bigger jar so I can have more in it, but this blends very well with other teas that are meant to relax you and help you sleep. I have here some calendula. This is really good for the skin. These ones are like dried flowers. Oh, they look so nice. They remind me of summertime. This is some dried grapefruit that I should probably use up sooner rather than later. I have a dehydrator now that I can use to dry things like citrus peel and use them for later usage. The stuff that's in that jar though, I just dried it in the oven because that's all I had at the time. I have here some hawthorn berries. I plan on making a tea during the winter solstice involving some hawthorn berries, some cinnamon, and I believe rose petals. I have the recipe written in my Yule planning book thing that I have going on. So this is also pretty tough too. So it is recommended that you even soak these for, 8 hours or overnight, so that way you can get the most out of the hawthorn berries. And you'll have to also make a decoction out of this, so boiling it again in water for like 20 minutes or so. And then after that you could just infuse like something like the rose petals in with it, which I have right here. And oh, I just love the aroma of the rose petals. It's just so beautiful and delightful, and you can use rose petals for so many things. Mainly, I just like the aroma that is, with the rose petals. It's nice for your bath or for a facial steam or a scrub or something like that. But also, rose pairs very well with cinnamon, so consider that in like a tea, or maybe even a herbal infused honey. This is a waxing moon tea. I will link the blog where I got the recipe from. I can't remember what's all in here, but I know that there is a lot of spicy stuff going on for the waxing moon, which probably because a lot of these spices correspond with fire. So things like, I don't know, cardamom and cinnamon and clove and all kinds of awesome things. She also has a recipe for the waning moon tea. Let me see. This one's got like peppermint, I know, in it. It's very cooling, kind of like the waning moon, like we're letting go, we're releasing the opposite of fire. So that's a really nice one to drink as well. She also has a full moon tea, and this is kind of nice. I could not find white peony flowers or whatever that was in it, but I was able to find a really fine white peony tea leaves, like in a white tea, so I incorporated that into the mix. And there's some, I want to say, jasmine green tea and some rose petals in there. It's a very lively mix. But my favorite is gonna have to be the new moon tea. This has like some Earl Grey, lavender, dark chocolate shavings, and dried grapefruit peel. It is really, really nice. This is hands down my favorite for the moon tea. Somebody in my coven recommended that I carry some burdock root for getting rid of or banishing some negative coworkers of mine, or at least kind of calming them down a little bit when they're around me. That's a whole other video I can get into, but I only have a little bit of it. Again, it's a root, so you would have to make a decoction of it, which I have not tried in a tea. I've just kind of carried it with me in a small bottle. Elderberries. This is really good for cough and cold, flu season, if you will. It has a very nice smell. This can also make like a really nice syrup as well for those purposes that I've just mentioned. And I have some anise seeds. This is new to me. I have worked with star anise before in spell work, and also just, making chai teas and various things. I purposely bought the anise seeds because I am trying to make this recipe. It won't be until next year that I need to have it down pat for the new moon in January or February. I gotta recheck my planner, but I'm going to be making a sugar cookie that has anise seeds in it, and I need to figure out a healthier version of a sugar cookie that I can incorporate this into. And I have what is labeled as tea of some sort. It's very important that you label your herbs and get them jarred quickly. This is a tea that I purchased at Bulk Barn in the bulk section, of course. I think it might have some kind of like strawberry flavor added to it. It's not like really part of my herbalism collection, but I just wanted to make a little PSA about labeling your jars. Another good herb for immune function is astragalus root. It's kind of hard to see because I'm filming this as the sun is starting to set here. It's not very late, but it's getting darker out now. But they look like little pieces of wood. I mean, that's essentially what it is, but it's just so cute. Oh my gosh. I don't think that the camera will do it justice, but it's just like they're like tiny little locks. It's adorable. And of course I have lavender. I meant to buy a bigger jar for this, but I ran out. So I put it in this overnight oats mason jar thing that I got, or the purpose of making overnight oats. So yeah, lots of lavender, really good for sleep, anxiety, and I use it for a lot of spiritual purposes as well. It's an offering that I give to Hecate, as she is my matron, I guess you could say. And of course I have some nettle. You can't go wrong with that. Nettle is talked a lot in the 12 Wild Swans. It's a book by Starhawk, which is kind of like an introductory to the reclaiming tradition if you're interested. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And we got some milk thistle seed. This is very good for supporting your liver health. And next we have oat straw. Oat straw is something that is talked a lot about in my herbalism course. It's blended a lot in other different types of tea. So I'm really excited to use that and learn more about it as I go. Peppermint is something that I use all the time. I go through so much peppermint. I had to just go out and get this big jar and buy bigger quantities of it because I go through it a lot. I am planning on making a video for Vlogmas on how to make a peppermint hot cocoa. So stay tuned for that. And this is also a new one, hops. It is used for sleep, anxiety, insomnia. So that's exciting. Valerian root is also used for sleep. It can cause some pretty vivid dreams. I had my first experience with valerian when I purchased a tincture at a grocery store. I don't know what compelled me to do that, but I went for it, and let me tell you, like, this stuff is some pretty strong stuff. Oh my gosh, it smells interesting. And I can't really put a whole lot of it in a tea, but when I had that tincture, I almost gagged. I almost vomited. It was so hard to get down, and the dreams are pretty wild. I've only really had one half memory, I guess. I don't remember the dream, but I remember the intensity of the dream. Marshmallow root. This is an example of an herb that is best brewed in cold water over a longer period of time to get the most out of the herb. This is quite interesting. I don't want to stick my hand in there, but it's right fluffy. This is really good for the digestive system. And of course, for cold and flu season, you get echinacea. You cannot go wrong with that. I have used that a lot. Also got some rose hips. I'm gonna do a little experimentation with that, so I can't say too much about it yet. Lemon balm is another one that I use a lot for relaxation and anxiety. And I will say peppermint also is good for relaxation and anxiety. And I find that they don't really make you sleepy. So if you want it to, you know, calm down a little bit, but you didn't want to fall asleep per se, that would be a good tea to drink. Like before, a couple hours before you go into an exam or something, let's just say, you know, if you have somewhere you got to be. I have a teeny tiny bag of eucalyptus that I plan on doing facial steam with. There wasn't very much at the shop. I took what was left, and the lady recommended to me to buy things like echinacea, elderberries, and eucalyptus in August because people are, you know, buying these things so that way they can make tinctures that'll be ready for the fall. I also included here some orange peel. Obviously with the citrus, you know, you get your vitamin C, but it's not what I use it for. I use it more for the aroma. Like I said, you know, orange with thyme or the peel with the fennel seeds. That's really nice. Also lemon is really nice as well. If you're going to be using this for magical purposes, though, I would definitely consider the correspondences that go along with it, because a lot of the times people will say, well, if I don't have, you know, a certain, you know, if I don't have an orange, but I have a lemon, can I use a lemon instead? And the answer for me might be no, because the question is, what are you using the lemon for? Because they have different energies, even though they have similar, you know, aromatic properties or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how to articulate it. But for example, the orange has a more yang energy to it, and the lemon has a yin energy to it. So consider what your spell is trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish with it, and will that herb work? I also incorporated here in this video some ginger root. This is good to mix in different chai teas, or if you have some nausea, you can make a really nice infusion with it. But personally, if I have nausea, I'm going to be taking some gingins. Let's see. I also have some cinnamon sticks that are not yet bottled. I just bought some more jars today, and they're just drying over there on the counter. I let them air dry because I don't want any moisture to be incorporated in with my herbs and cause them to go moldy. But these are nice. And there's different types of cinnamon too, I will say. Some of the varieties are more spicy and some of them are a little bit more sweet. And I have some box teas, or bag teas rather. This is raspberry leaf. It's very good for balancing your hormones. It's very good for your menstrual cycle. There's another herb that I want to get called shepherd's purse that will also be beneficial for heavy menstrual cycles. Something I hope to get in the future in a loose herb form is dandelion root. I just have a box tea. I'm not going to go out and buy any more or any dandelion root tea, just because I have this whole box here, but that is really good as well. I have some lemongrass. Again, I would prefer just to use a dried lemongrass, but where I have pretty well a whole box of this, I want to use it up. And I can't say that lemongrass tea on its own is really good, but if you blend it into other types of tea, it can kind of enhance that experience a little bit, and it's pretty good. Got some yarrow. Still got some boxes of Earl Grey left. It's really good. In here I have some catnip. I'm just waiting again for those jars to dry so that way I can store it. Very good for sleep and psychic energy. And same with passion flower. And some linden blossoms as well. That was a tea that was recommended to me by a coven mate. And I have this. You can get just the root form of ashwagandha, but I have the powder form, and let me tell you, this stuff is like, it makes you gag. However, I can make a really nice ashwagandha root latte that my dietitian had recommended to me a long time ago. I have to put in way more honey than what she originally suggested in the recipe she gave me. The reason why I like this powder is that it can reverse the impacts that stress have on the body. So it doesn't really necessarily eliminate the stress, or that feeling of stress doesn't prevent it, but it can just reverse and undo some of the long-term damage that stress can do on the body. So yeah, that is my current collection. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think right now I am going to go and enjoy tea of some sort. Thanks for watching.